ArgoCD, GitOps continuous delivery for Kubernetes. Agenda: continuous delivery models. ArgoCD history. Why ArgoCD? Sync lifecycle, getting started, basic workflow, applications and sync policies. Continuous delivery. Continuous delivery automates moving application changes from a Git repository into a running environment safely and repeatedly. If a deployment goes wrong, a reliable delivery process can detect drift and correct it, or roll back to a known good state. Almost every team running production Kubernetes workloads eventually needs a consistent, auditable way to deploy changes. Any team running many clusters or environments benefits from one consistent process instead of a different script per cluster. Manually running kubectl apply against production cluster by cluster doesn't scale. Push-based and pull-based deployment. Push-based deployment runs from a CI pipeline that has direct, often broad credentials to push changes into the cluster. Pull-based deployment, the GitOps model ArgoCD uses, runs an agent inside the cluster that pulls the desired state from Git and applies it locally. Push-based CI runs kubectl apply. Pipeline holds cluster grades, no built-in drift detection. Pull-based GitOps, ArgoCD, Flux, agent runs inside the cluster. Problems with push-based deployment. Single point of failure. A CI pipeline with broad cluster credentials is a high-value target if compromised. No built-in way to detect when someone changes the cluster outside the pipeline. Hard to see at a glance whether the cluster's actual state matches what's declared in Git. Every pipeline needs its own cluster credentials. Multiplying the places secrets can leak. Rolling back often means rerunning a pipeline rather than simply reverting a Git commit. Misses out on single auditable source of truth for what should be running. The Argo CD GitOps system. Desired application state is declared in Kubernetes manifest, Helm charts, or customized overlays kept in a Git repository. ArgoCD's application controller continuously compares the live cluster state against what's declared in Git. When the two states differ, ArgoCD can automatically or manually sync the cluster to match the desired state, declared state. Other simpler GitOps tools: Flux, Jenkins X, Spinnaker. ArgoCD advantages. Git becomes the single source of truth, so every change is reviewed, versioned, and auditable. Automatically detects and can self-heal configuration drift between Git and the live cluster. A web UI visualizes every application's sync status and resource health at a glance. Rolling back is as simple as reverting a Git commit, not rerunning a pipeline. Supports multiple supports multiple clusters and applications from a single centralized control plane. Backed by a large open source community and part of the CNCF ecosystem. Everything is declared in Git, almost. One huge benefit is that in Argo CD, almost everything about an application's desired state lives in a Git repository. The live cluster is treated as a reflection of Git, not the other way around. Any manual change made directly to the cluster is treated as drift and can be automatically reverted. Reviewing a pull request becomes the same thing as reviewing a proposed production change. History and rollback come for free simply by using Git's own commit history. Applications and projects. Application ties a Git source to a destination cluster and namespace. Project groups applications and restricts what they are allowed to deploy. Application.yml, an ArgoCD application resource, ties the Git path to a target cluster and namespace. Automated sync policy. Here, ArgoCD is configured to sync automatically and self-heal any drift from Git. History originated from Applatix deployment tooling before being open sourced by Intuit after acquiring the team in 2018. Built to bring the GitOps model, first named by Vueworks in 2017, to Kubernetes in a dedicated cluster native tool. Donated to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, joining projects like Kubernetes and Helm. Reached a graduated status within the CNCF, reflecting its maturity and broad production adoption. Now, one of the most widely used GitOps continuous delivery tools for Kubernetes. Why ArgoCD? GitOps native, built specifically around Git as the source of truth for Kubernetes. Visibility. A web UI shows every application's sync and health status at a glance. Self-healing automatically corrects drift between Git and the live cluster. Multi-cluster manages applications across many clusters from one control plane. Auditable, every change traces back to a reviewed version Git commit. Backed by the CNCF and a large, active open source community. The application controller. The application controller is the core loop that keeps the cluster in sync with Git, continuously polls or is notified of Git changes and compares them against live cluster state, computes the diff between desired and actual state before taking any action. Never edit resources ArgoCD manages directly in the cluster. Change Git and let it reconcile. ArgoCD sync lifecycle. Poll Git. Compare. Compute changes diff. Apply to cluster sync. Check readiness. Health. ArgoCD compares Git against the live cluster. Computes the diff. Syncs any changes and then checks the health of every resource Git manages. Getting started with ArgoCD. This leads us to the three commands that get an application deployed. ArgoCD login. Sign in to the ArgoCD API server. ArgoCD app create. Point ArgoCD at a Git repo and target cluster. ArgoCD app sync. Apply the declared state to the cluster. Basic workflow. Thinking, diffing, and observing. Some call sync, diff, and observe ArgoCD's everyday loop. Declarative. Commit a change to Git and ArgoCD only applies what's different. ArgoCD app diff shows exactly what would change before anything is applied. Automated sync and self-heal can close the loop with no manual intervention. The UI's application graph shows every resource's health down to the pod level. Supports many workflows, progressive delivery, multi-cluster fleets, multi-tenant platforms. Works the same across any cluster ArgoCD has access to. Any questions? Thank you.